Hi, guys, and welcome to the McCourtroom. This is my very first podcast episode, and to say I'm nervous is a bit of an understatement. Sod's law would have it that I woke up this morning with a big green spot on my face, but I've done stuff with the lighting, so hopefully it's not too noticeable. So today I wanted to delve into my near-death experience. I thought it'd be a good way to kick off the podcast because it's a bit like cheeky, a little bit of a story for you guys. But actually it was quite terrifying. So I'm going to talk you through exactly what happened and my theories as to like how it happened. So let's go back to April 2021, April 22nd to be precise. And to give you a bit of backstory to what I'm going to say, I'll say it now. So I was looking for new jobs. I knew that I wanted to leave the job that I was in. And a job came up online, a journalist job. And I was like, oh, okay, I've always wanted to be a journalist, you know, a bit of investigation, a bit of like quizzing, getting the tea, all that jazz. So I decided that I was going to apply for it. Now, part of the requirements for this job was that you had to write out a journalistic piece on a local issue in your area. So I decided on my issue and I started writing my article. And my dad has a friend going way back. I'm not going to say his real name, so I'm going to call him Nigel as a pseudonym. And Nigel was this really amazing journalist who had written for magazines in London for many, many years. And so I thought, you know, why not call on this guy's help? Because Nigel was great. So I got his contact detail from my dad and I got in touch with him and I asked him to help me write this piece. So he gave me a call and he was incredibly helpful. This guy is insanely talented. And so he helped me write my piece and I submitted it. And then I was in London staying at my family's house at that point, even though I lived in Scotland. And so I was due to drive up back to Scotland on the 23rd, but on the 22nd, I decided why not pop over to Nigel's house and say thank you for all his help. So we arranged to meet, Nigel and I, and bearing in mind this is a long-time family friend, so I hadn't seen Nigel for many, many years. And I drove over to his house in South London, and I had brought a bottle of whiskey and some chocolates, and I think maybe some flowers and stuff like that to give as a thank you. Anyway, so I get up to Nigel's door, ring the doorbell, ring, ring. And Nigel's wife, who for the purposes of this podcast, we're going to call Shelley, answered the door. Anyway, hi, Shelley, lovely to see you. It's been so long. Oh, hi, so nice to see you again. How are you? Blah, blah, blah. Walk in. And to my right is this huge, massive picture of Buddha on the wall. And to my left, there's a cabinet and there's like crystals and all this kind of thing on the cabinet. So I'm just taking stock of the vibes around me, this place. Shelley takes me through to the back room and there's Nigel. So I sit down. Oh, hi, Nigel. Nice to see you. Thank you so much for all your help. Blah, blah, blah. And bearing in mind, this was supposed to be kind of like a short visit because obviously I'm traveling back up to Scotland the next day. I'm driving. It's a 8-hour drive, not including stops. So I was meant to be there for a while. But anyway, we got chatting. And if you know me, I'm a bit of a chatterbox. And so is Nigel and so is Shelley. So anyway, they're asking me lots of questions. And that summer, in June, I was due to get married. So now, if you think about this, this is like height of pandemic. So we were only actually going to have like 25 people at the wedding. So anyway, they're asking me these questions like, oh, how's your fiance? When did you get engaged? How did you meet him? And, I kind of told them the story. His mum runs a crisis pregnancy centre up in Dundee. So we kind of met through that and doing the work that we do. And Shelley goes, oh, is he Catholic? And I was like, yes. And she was like, are you Catholic? And I was like, yes. And she goes, are you getting married in a church? And I was like, yes. So at this point, it was very interesting because I did notice a shift in her attitude. And although she's such a lovely woman, so sweet and so bubbly and so kind, it was almost like as soon as I had said the fact that I was Catholic and so was my fiance and we were getting a Catholic wedding, it was like she had kind of tapped into some hard drive where she instantly started talking a lot about like spiritualism and new agey stuff, which is actually not a problem to me. Like, I don't really care. That's it. You do you, I do me. Great. Happy days. Anyway, but it was very interesting because she mentioned how like she had grown up Catholic and she'd left the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church was just this, that, and the other. And I was like, okay. Anyway, so the conversation carried on, and we started talking a bit about like how I'm getting into all the kind of natural, healthy living, low tox lifestyle. I use a lot of essential oils in my home. I make a lot of my own products, like skincare products, cleaning products, all that kind of thing. And she started talking to me about homeopathy, which I don't actually know that much about. But she was basically saying how like you have these sugar balls, and that she brought out this massive machine that kind of looked like an old school kind of computer without the screen, with all these buttons and like a little hole and everything. And she brought out this book alongside it. And the book basically had every single like ailment you can think of. And for example, it said, headache +2. This is just an example. I don't actually know if that's the right plusage. And she was saying how like with homeopathy, you get these sugar balls and you put them in this little hole in this machine device thing that I just described. And if you have a headache, you have to tap in the +2 and it charges it with +2. And then you take the sugar balls and then it gives the right energy into your body that it needs to restore its balance and stop the headache. So from my understanding, this is how homeopathy works. Sorry. And she was like, oh, you should take this. You should take this. You know, if you're going to be having kids, this is great for children, everything like that. And I'm like, okay. No, really, seriously, it's okay. Don't worry. I don't want to take your stuff. And she's like, no, you need to have it. You need to have it. Take the book as well. Oh, here, look, I've got tons of books you can have. And she starts getting all these books out. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's very kind of you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And all these books are kind of like homeopathy books and like spiritualism books. I'm like, okay. I said, you know what? I don't need these books, but you know, you can keep them. Thank you so much for being so generous. And she was like, no, I insist you have to have them. So I'm like, cool. All right, Shelley, I'll take the books. So then we sit there and she's made me a cup of tea. And again, we're just chit-chatting. And all of a sudden, she starts rummaging in her little purse next to her. And I'm like, what's she doing? And she pulls out this plastic box. It was just like a Tupperware container. And I was like, okay, right. I don't know what Shelley's doing. And Shelley then proceeds to pull out of the box a handful of tarot cards. Now, if you know anything about the Catholic faith, tarot cards, no, thank you very much. I do not want to open any demonic doors. And if you're not religious, you're going to be like, eye roll, ridiculous. But again, like that's on you. But in Catholicism, we know that there are lots of portals that you can open to demonic influence, demonic attack, and even demonic possession. And tarot cards is one of those doors. So she knows I'm Catholic, right? And she's like, oh, let me just do your reading. And I was like, no thanks. And she's like, oh no, I promise you it's fine. It's all about opening your third eye. Your third eye taps into your subconscious and basically tells you what's going to happen. And I was like, oh no thank you. Oh, that's very kind. And I'm really uncomfortable. I'm sitting there and I'm kind of like low-key sweating and I'm like, okay, this is making me really uncomfortable. And anyway, of course, Nigel decides to pipe up and he goes, oh, I'll have a reading. I'm like, oh, Nigel, no, stop. Not in my presence, please. I don't say that, but in my head, that is what I'm thinking. So anyway, Shelley proceeds to do a reading with Nigel. And if that wasn't just bad enough for me, they decided to do another one after the first one. And he had all these questions and she's pulling out all these cards and doing all her juju on the table. And I'm sitting there and I have my coffee up to my mouth and I'm like, and I'm whispering prayers into the coffee cup. And I'm like, please, I just can't deal with this. This is so uncomfortable. I hate this so much. Like, oh my goodness. And in hindsight, yeah, Eden, you should have got up and left. Do you know what I mean? Like, how ridiculous, just sitting there while someone's doing their own religious practice in front of you that you believe opens doors to the demonic. But at the time, I didn't know what to do. Do you know when you like fight, flight, or freeze? Usually I'm a flight or a fight, but that time I froze. So I'm sitting there extremely nervous. Like I can feel the sweat beads dripping down. Oh, it's horrendous. Anyway, So they do these 2 readings, and I was just like, "Ugh, okay." And she's like, "Are you sure you don't want a reading?" And I was like, "Yes, honey, I'm very sure. Thank you so much." And also, another thing is, just as a side note, like, imagine going to someone's house, you don't have the same religion as them. That would be like me getting my atheist bestie to my house and being like, "Right, I'm going to pray the rosary now. Do you want to pray the rosary with me?" It's like, it's just not really very considerate, not very kind, not very mindful, not very demure. Anyway, so yeah, I sat there and it was just not great. Praying the whole time into my coffee cup. And she finishes the readings. And I'm like, do you know what? I just need to get out of here ASAP. So I kind of like try to wrap up the conversation. She again starts talking to me about Catholicism and she doesn't like it. It's not true. It's not for her. And I'm not even arguing. I'm just like, yeah, like it's not, well, that's your decision and whatever. Anyway, so she starts getting these like this kind of like big box out, and it's like a wooden box and it's got lots of different drawers, and she's like, "Here, have this as well." And I was like, no, it's okay, thank you, like I'm good, I'm good. And she's like, "No, no, I insist, you take this." And I was like, "Okay, I'll take it." Anyway, so I walk out of the house. Thank you so much, Shelley. Thank you so much, Nigel, for all your help. It's been lovely to see you again. Hopefully we'll catch up sometime soon with a big armful of stuff, this big machine, homeopathy machine, this big wooden box, these books, all of this stuff. Anyway, so I pop it in the back of my car, drive off home. I don't say anything to my parents at that point because I didn't want to scare anyone, but I was feeling like super just nervy on the way home. I was like, something was not right about that, and something is not right about now. Anyway, so when I got home, I didn't discard the books and the box and the homeopathy machine. I was like, if there's anything attached to this, I would rather not discard it around my parents' house because my parents have my siblings who are younger and I don't want to put any badness or leave any badness near my family's house. So I'll drive back home tomorrow and I will discard it when I get back home to Glasgow. The next day, April the 23rd, 2021. I leave crack of dawn because if you know the drive to Scotland, you know you don't want to be stuck in traffic. It's too long of a drive as it is. So I get in the car, my dog's in the car, my stuff's in the back, all her stuff that she's given me is in the back, and I set off. And as I set off, I have a feeling of dread. And I know now, always follow your instincts, always trust your instincts. But back then, I didn't know. And so I carried on driving. And an interesting thing is, my mum said to me as well, before I left, she also got a feeling of dread. As she saw me driving off round the corner, she had this feeling of dread that something is going down today. Anyway, so I drive for about 3 hours. I get to Kiel service station. I stop off. I have some water. I have some lunch. I let the dog go to the toilet. I hop back in the car. Oh, wait, I call my dad. I tell him, oh, yeah, at Kiel services, making good time. This is great. I'll be back home in a few hours. Well, not a few hours, but a few hours. What? Kiel's about 3 hours away. So another, 5 hours. And I come out of the service station, go onto the motorway, and I'm going about 70 and I'm in the middle lane. All of a sudden, literally, I can't even describe it. My steering wheel, I have both hands on the steering wheel I can't remember what position that is, but like the one where your hands are higher up. And all of a sudden, it was the most bizarre thing in the world. My steering wheel literally swerved vroom, to the right. It was like somebody had taken the steering wheel and literally yanked it to the right. Now, in the right lane is this massive truck. And in a split second, I steered it way over to the other way, the left, to avoid me hitting this massive truck. Bearing in mind, this motorway is busy, okay? It's not a quiet motorway. My car goes berserk, way to the left, into the left lane, swerves. I pull it back again, go to the right, swerve into the right. And this all happened in 3 seconds, 5 seconds maybe. But it felt like it was in slow motion. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to get hit. Someone's going to smash into me. This is it. My life's over. I'm done. Anyway, swerve to the right and then pull it back to the left and smash straight into the barricade on the left side of the motorway at 70 miles an hour. My car's totaled. My dog is barking berserkly. I cannot believe that I'm alive because there were multiple cars around me on that motorway. How I didn't hit any of them or how none of them hit me is a miracle. I smash into the gate at 70 miles an hour. My car front is literally pushed way back to the windscreen because it's smashed in so much. And I'm untouched, literally untouched. It was bizarre. So anyway, I'm sitting there in absolute shock. These 3 guys had pulled over, came over. You're right, darling. You're right. What happened? What happened? And I was like, shaking. The dog's going berserk in the back. They're like, were you on your phone? And I was like, no. And they're like, what happened? And I was like, I don't know. I literally don't know. Anyway, so I get out of the car. I'm shaking. My whole body's vibrating. And I just kind of sit at the side of the road and call my dad. Well, I tried to call my fiance, Thomas, first, and then he didn't pick up. Lol. No good in an emergency. And then I call my dad and tell him what's just happened, because obviously I was on the phone to him like 5 minutes earlier. And then out of nowhere, one of the highway patrol guys comes Nino down. He sees me and he's like, he comes out of his car. What happened? What were you doing? And I was like, I don't know. The steering wheel literally just swerved to the right and I lost control. We look at the wheels. There's no hole. There's no burst tire, nothing. And he's like, you shouldn't actually be alive right now. This impact, you should be dead. And you should start playing the lottery, because if you are this lucky, then yeah, you need to start making millions from it. Yeah. And so obviously hearing that, like I shouldn't actually be alive, I was absolutely just in shock. Anyway, so got to the service station and I sat there for 6 hours waiting for my fiance to drive all the way from Scotland to come and pick me up. And I had all my stuff around me. My car was totaled. They had to take the car away. I left all of the stuff that she gave me in the back of the car because there was something not right about it. And you can think what you like, you can believe in what you want, but I am telling you absolutely for certain right now, something swerved that steering wheel and it was not me. And the only reason I'm alive is because my guardian angel, our Lord and our Lady, they straight in, bish, bash, bosh, saved a girl. Now, it was interesting actually, because when I went to the service station and as I was sitting there, I was literally there for 6 hours. Because I had the dog, I couldn't go in. And also because I was in shock, I was finding it really difficult to walk. And it really made me rethink my outlook on not just life, but also the way that we treat other people. Because in those 6 hours that I was sitting there, I'd say maybe 3 people stopped and asked if I needed help, asked if I was okay. I got a lot of dirty stares. I think people thought I was homeless. Some guy pulled up and wound his window down and like whacked a $20. Who do I think I am? Lol. £20 note. $20 note. No, £20 note out the window. And he was like, here you are, love. And I was like, I'm not homeless. I just was in an accident. But thank you so much. I should have taken the 20 quid and just taken it. But anyway, I didn't. And yeah, there was only a few people who actually came to help and see if I was okay. And that whole day, I saw thousands of people drive in and out of that service station, petrol station, and only 3 stopped to help in total, which I thought was kind of crazy. I had people screaming outside their windows to me, you effing this, that, and the other, thinking that I must have been some kind of homeless person. But anyway, it was really awful. And it kind of showed me the state that humanity is in this country anyway. So that was a bit terrifying. But it was interesting as well, because you hear all these things of people saying when you're about to die, or when you're going to die, when you think you're going to die, you have your life flashing before your eyes. And I could have had my life flash before my eyes. I could have had my family, my fiance, my friends flash before my eyes. But the only thing that came into my mind at literally what could have been the last few seconds was, please don't take me, because I have more work to do to help the pro-life cause, which is kind of mental when you think about it. That is my highest priority. But it's a good thing. Anyway, so that was my near-death experience. Take away from that what you will. What I will say though is that after that, I was like, sod this, I'm not having 25 people at my wedding. And so we went on to invite 200 people in the height of COVID. Obviously, everything was outdoors. People who didn't want to come didn't come because they were scared of catching COVID. But it was the best day ever. And I'm really pleased that we managed to have the wedding that we did with all of our loved ones around us. So yeah, crazy. If you've had a near-death experience, I would love to hear about it. Just drop a comment. And also let me know what you think of mine. That is my theory. I don't know if the demonic was involved. I don't know that for sure, but I'm just telling you, it was absolutely bizarre. So with that being said, have a lovely rest of your day or night or whenever you're listening to this. I'd really appreciate it if you followed me on all social media platforms. That is Eden McCourt. And that's where I'll be posting these podcast episodes as well. And we're going to have some really cool guests coming on as well. So I'm really excited. But yeah, if you like this video, please either subscribe or follow or whatever you do, and tell your friends about it, because I would really love for this to be successful, as it's something that I've wanted to do for a very, 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 very long time, but put it off because of imposter syndrome and all of that kind of thing. Anyway, have a great one, guys. And thanks so much for listening. Take care.